Every great story builds on itself. It's consistent. It naturally grows and develops from what came before it. And for a long time, that's exactly what Dragon Ball was. I'd say from the beginning of the story through the Frieza saga, Dragon Ball was a story that was focused, but at some point after that, that focus slipped. Even though I think Dragon Ball Z ended on a relatively high note, I don't think it can be argued that narratively it lost its path. And what that brought was a collapse that nearly ruined the end of one of Shonen's greatest stories. So today I ask one question: how did Dragon Ball Z lose its way? Now, I can start from the moment that I think the story's focus deviated, but it's better that we all understand a couple of things first. Spectacle is second to storyline. No matter how flashy or eventful a story is, if the plot isn't up to par, any critical thinker will see its deficiencies. And I think Toriyama understood that. From Kid Goku's early adventures to the Saiyan invasion and even the fight against Frieza, they all connect. Every new major plot point and element builds on something older. Every new antagonist has a direct tie to the world we already know. It's a chain reaction. And as the story got bigger and bigger, every fight stayed personal. Now, I do think the best conflict occurs between family and friends. Conflict and hostility between strangers can most definitely be interesting, but I personally enjoy it more when both sides have a certain level of care for one another.
But BigTune, the villains in Dragon Ball Z, they were strangers.
Yes, they were, but there was familiarity at every turn that brought a certain kind of reaction out of the cast. Think about it. Raditz wasn't just an alien invader, he was an invader from the alien race Goku was a member of. He contextualized so many events prior to that and changed the story going forward. And on top of that, he was Goku's blood brother. Vegeta and Nappa, strangers? Yeah, but they were also members of the same race Goku just learned he was part of. Frieza not only was on Namek, which was revealed to be the homeworld of Piccolo and Kami, yet he was also searching for the Dragon Balls, which had been integral in every arc of this story from day one. And he was the tyrant who enslaved Goku and Vegeta's people and destroyed their home planet and their race. Even Cell, who is the most distant from the main cast, was a culmination of everything that came before him. His existence is only possible because everything the Z Fighters went through up until that point. He's like an embodiment of the Dragon Ball story itself. Every fight meant something because it had strong foundations in events that happened before. And then came the Buu Saga. The Buu Saga is something that, man, if you were just to list everything that happened in this saga, it would be amazing. But to me, it all feels very hollow. It actually gets worse every time I go back, because while the Saiyan saga and the Frieza saga are the right mix of spectacle and story, a great deal of the Buu saga is not. Super Saiyan 3's introduction was incredible. The concepts for both fusions were and still are really cool. They've provided some of the flashiest power-ups in the franchise. But when I think of moments that really stuck with me, it isn't Super Saiyan 3, it's the first Super Saiyan transformation. It's Kaioken times 3. These moments shifted the story. Frieza's transformations felt like a different physical embodiment of terror each time, each form representing a different kind of horror. Buu's transformations, entertaining, but they don't hold that kind of weight. Even Vegeta's progression on Namek, watching him plow his way through Frieza's army and fighting for the sake of his pride and his people, was more compelling to me than either fusion in the Buu saga, because we've got to remember that spectacle is second to storyline. The Buu saga forgot that. Here's what made Dragon Ball Z special, and I touched on it earlier. The best conflict in this series was always between people who cared about each other. Raditz was Goku's brother, Vegeta became Goku's greatest rival, Frieza shaped the Saiyan race, and Cell forced Gohan to become the fighter Goku couldn't be. You know, one day I'll talk about how the conflict with Gohan in the Cell games wasn't just with Cell, but Goku as well, but like I said, that's for another day. The point is that even when the villains were new, the emotional familiarity made every battle feel connected. But Buu was a stranger. No ties to the main cast, no history, no deeper meaning, just chaos. And on top of that, he doesn't have a very interesting personality. And because of that, I think Toriyama started to overcompensate with power-ups and fusions without a solid foundation. And it doesn't matter who you are, no one can ever overcome a bad plot. It will be obvious every time. What the Buu Saga, or just Buu in general, tends to remind me of is the Joker. He's not as intelligent in most forms, but his presence in the story stoked the fires of chaos. So it's definitely possible to have a character like Buu whose random appearance and childlike nature has no connection to the main cast. But to have such an antagonistic force that is all over the place, to do things without any rules or any reasoning, I think it's necessary to have a character on the other side who is consistent in who they are. That's why the Joker is perfect for someone like Batman. He has no personal connection to Batman beyond what he represents, but that's why he works so well. Batman is consistent, he's stubborn and resolute. He's the unshakable core that balances the Joker's chaos. And I think Dragon Ball Z has someone like that too, and his name is Goku. But the issue is that Goku wasn't there for most of the fight against Buu. We saw the whole gauntlet of what Dragon Ball Z had to offer. Vegeta is the textbook Greek tragic hero. He was born an elite prince, had a tragic flaw in his pride, endured a very tough life, hit rock bottom, and then had to die for redemption. Vegeta was at his most interesting as a character at this point, but he was having such an internal struggle he just couldn't be that unshakable force to stand against Buu. Gohan, before and after his potential being unlocked, was struggling with who he was. It's actually a struggle he dealt with his entire life. Goten and Trunks were just introduced and frankly weren't characters with enough depth, and then a character like Piccolo, who was very strong in the Buu Saga, didn't have the power to be the main protagonistic force. The person that needed to be the Batman to Buu's Joker was Goku. And that's why even though we saw all of the strongest fighters before it, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, Vegito, Ultimate Gohan, Buuhan, the fight between Goku and Kid Buu feels more right than any other fight in this saga, because the story found its center again. The Spirit Bomb, the aftermath on Earth, Pan, Oob, all of this was great, but it's such a small section of the Buu Saga, because for most of it, the heart of Dragon Ball, the storytelling consistency that carried it from the literal beginning, he was missing. And he was missing against someone he couldn't afford to not be there for. Against Frieza, against Nappa and Vegeta, Goku didn't have to be there the whole time, because those characters had ties to the Dragon Ball world, not just an individual character or a singular moment. But against Buu, someone who not only acts randomly but appears randomly as well, Goku needed to be there. He needed to hold everything in place. The Buu Saga can be entertaining, but you kinda have to shut off part of your brain to do so, and I don't like that. It's like watching a boxer with a crazy knockout punch but no jab or no defense, or watching a singer with crazy range but can't hold a note. The best things are always the whole package, and the Buu Saga wasn't. Toriyama was one of my favorite minds in fiction, but in writing this part of the story, he forgot one thing. Spectacle is second to storyline. Always has been, and always will be. So yeah, Dragon Ball Z, I'll never say it isn't great, but it's great almost in spite of its ending, because the first half built a story that could have gone anywhere, and the second half kinda just spins in circles. But what do you think? Do you think the Buu Saga redeemed itself in the end or not? Let me know down in the comments. If this is your first time here, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. With that being said, this is Matt, and thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.